All right, so
Combing my beard over here. Look at this.
It's definitely not the same day as before, and John is definitely not combing what he calls a beard. I'm Johnny from Louisiana,
John from Virginia Beach.
and this is John, and Jargon.
I'm going to ask you some questions now. Okay, so you are, somebody asks you to do a workshop for them. What do you do? I mean, bring me through like everything from planning the event to the questions that you ask them to the execution to the logistics, like all of it.
Okay. So down here, most of the time, people don't know what a workshop is or don't really have any context. So they'll say, we have this problem. And then going through what that problem is, talking about it with them, I just try and find their objective. What do they want out of the workshop? Whether that's like, say it's a prototype, like the ability to test an idea, or they just want a consensus to all agree on something. I define that really well and we agree. I hit the bed because I was so passionate, so I shook my camera. But we define really well what they see as the best outcome, then I design based on that outcome. So if there is brainstorming, prototyping, if there is a need for team alignment or learning of any kind, like how to collaborate better as a group, I go online and look up every single time. Even though I know a lot of times what I'm going to do, I go online and see if there's anything I can find that's better, any exercise, any warm up, any moment I can change in what I already have in my mind. And then I write it out on a piece of paper as a flow, something like a wave that has like a roller coaster, a dip, and then so it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it speeds up in the middle. So I write out all the exercises I'm going to do, then I guesstimate how long it's going to take, and then I ask them if I still have the same amount of time. Half the time they say, oh, actually now instead of a full day, we have 2.5 hours. And so then I throw out everything that I think needs to get thrown out in panic mode, squish it together, make sure it works in my mind, and then go run it. And that's basically my process.
So what do you do for contingencies? Like, you think something's going to work, you've done it before, but because of this certain company or culture, it doesn't work.
Right. I guess because I replay everything in my head 100,000 times. Example, I used to sit in the middle of the soccer field for an hour every couple days and play games through my head over and over again, different passes, different plays. It was from a book. It was from the book Mind Gym. You should read it even if you're not into sports. It's about mental toughness and how to improve your own thinking, make yourself more positive. So I go through the workshop in my head over and over again of worst case scenarios, because in my brain, there's always so many worst case scenarios. And from that, I come up with strategies to handle that. So whenever it goes wrong in the workshop, it looks like I'm reacting really quickly and being so clever and improving everything. Really, I've already seen it a few times in my head and I knew exactly what I was going to do if this happens. So I know the difficult points because I've done enough workshops that I can see I might lose someone here, or the boss might go completely against the rest of the group here. So I have plans for managing that.
Yeah. Translation, no contingencies needed. I think. No, that's awesome. I mean, I attempt to do the same thing. I mean, not to that extent, but there are only so many circumstances that can happen that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Like, let's list a few. Let's just kind of brain jam on a few things that could go wrong.
Okay.
Someone talking too much.
Mm-hmm.
Won't stop asking questions when you want to move on.
Won't stop answering their phone or looking at their phone.
No listening. So they're not listening to your directions. So you have to repeat your directions.
Mm-hmm. Sitting down when everyone else is standing up.
Not participating, saying, hey, I'm not going to do this one.
Being
somebody actually, go ahead, you.
Super negative. The person says it'll never work every single time, regardless of the
context. No, that's a good one. I was going to say something to the effect of the person the person doesn't believe anything that's going on. It's kind of a step above negative, negative thinking. It's like they're bringing everybody else down by like not hitting the I believe button to go from one thing to the next. And they need to know now why you're doing something that might not play out for, 3 or 4 hours potentially.
Yeah, that happens a lot with engineers, a lot. Someone
Yep.
who's already had experience with something that is similar. So lean UX or like Kanban or whatever. So they think they've already known and it doesn't work. So forget about it.
Yep. Or they've done it and they know more than you do about what you're trying to do, which is a big one. And then, okay, so we could keep going. I'm sure it would take a little while for us to brain jam a couple more of those, but there are only a finite amount of those. I mean, in the amount of time we just spoke, going back and forth, I don't know, I'm bad at public math, but it was maybe 10. I don't know.
Yeah. And
let's say that there are 20 scenarios that replay over and over again. Well, those scenarios, I know how to deal with those scenarios. And because I know how to deal with my modules, I know how to deal with those scenarios within the modules. So this actually goes back to the question you asked last week or yesterday or in the last video that we did, whenever these are playing.
Earlier today.
It's like now I lost my train of thought because I was giddy and laughing. But I will say this has nothing to do with anything except for in the last one, you did say that you could learn anything by watching, and I challenged you to learn how to ride a unicycle.
Okay. I could
by watching a video. No, what was I gonna say? What thread was I on there? Oh yeah. So in the last one, you talked about we talked about the different personalities going from in-person to virtual, and the same thing plays there. So now you have 20 things that could go wrong, but in the virtual world, there's those plus some, right?
Right.
Where internet just doesn't work, or somebody, decides to come over here and stop their video, and you don't know if I'm picking my nose or not.
Not even the same.
I was, and like all those other things. And now you need to know how to deal with those and the new modules, which means you need to learn the tool, etc. So it just gets more complex. And I actually think so. Actually, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think? Well, this is a leading question. It's not fair.
Anyways.
I'm going to ask the leading question.
Do
you think that it is easier or more difficult to have a successful in-person event than a successful virtual event?
Here's the thing. I love people, so I always prefer in person. I mean, I grew up in a children's museum. There were like 500 people around me at all times, and my family has like 8 people. So I'm not used to being isolated. So I need people around me, which makes me lean to in person. But online, I have seen how easy it is to progress at speed. So I think the benefit of online is that you can collaborate extremely, extremely fast. People more often than not do pick up the tools really well. And I think you can get further faster, but I don't think you can go as deep. What that means is you don't connect to the problem in the same way, and you don't connect to the people in the same way. So I don't think you get to the same results from that. And I also think you don't have the same level of commitment. So the execution that comes after the workshop depends a lot on those people owning the solution. And that was the beauty of design thinking, design sprinting, is that you own the solution. And I feel like through the camera, I don't engage or emotionally or whatever it is, whatever the chip in my brain is, I don't connect the same way. So in person.
So you articulated that answer significantly better than I articulated the question, but I'm going to answer it with the terrible way that I asked it. I think that in person, and this maybe goes to your point of being around people and knowing how, just how it works, how you work with them and how they work with each other, and the buy-in and their ability to own it at the end. In person is easy to pick up from a mistake, because if they got your buy-in and they trust you and they believe you because you've done something meaningful in front of them, then they're going to look past some mistakes. I think in the virtual world, that's a lot less likely to happen. They're a lot less likely to form some kind of bond with you personally, because you didn't say some hilarious joke to them one-on-one while everybody was going on a bathroom break, and now they feel like you're brothers or sisters together. That doesn't happen in the virtual world. So when you do mess up, people are judging a lot more than the real world. So I think if you are sitting in a virtual class that is actually engaging, light your brain on fire, fun, and meaningful, and you don't see any hiccups, and you think it's successful, I think it is significantly more difficult to create that environment than anybody would ever imagine. I personally believe that. So, all right. So I will ask you one more quick. Oh, actually, rapid fire. You did this to me last time. All right, here we go. I'm gonna make this up on the spot.
I nailed it. Let's see how you do.
Okay. Would you rather sit down or lay down on a couch when you watch TV?
Sit down. I fall asleep too easily.
Movies or TV shows?
Movies. Bad concentration.
Bike rides or hammocks?
Ooh, bike rides. Ooh.
Ice cream or really delicious cereal?
Ice cream. That's dumb. Easy.
I came up with those questions on the spot. I blacked out. I didn't hear anything you just said. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it.